So, well, for example, what would you say about a statement such as the one that Ray makes occasionally, which is to say that the goal of evolution is the dissemination or the spreading of intelligence, and the argument taken to the ultimate point is the giant computronium, or the moment when the universe wakes up and becomes intelligent. You do touch it as one of the options.
I mean, that's in fact, I just had dinner with James Gardner last night. He talks about the intelligent universe, and that's his omega point.
Yeah.
See. I don't. I'm a little bit allergic to the idea of the omega point, that there's a single destiny, and I'm much more of a pluralist. That I think that what technology brings us, what evolution brings us, which is increasing variety, and so we forget the fact that every living species alive today is as highly evolved as any other one. So I don't see it as a ladder. I see it as this kind of expanding circular tree bush where the horseshoe crab is as highly evolved as humans are. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not as complex as we are, but it's gone through 4 billion years of learning and refinement, and so I see the technium spreading out in that same way, where there's not a single course. There is a progression, and so it's inevitable, I think, to have a planetary scale intelligence, but it won't be the only intelligence.
That's very, very fascinating. We're approaching the end of our interview, unfortunately. It went pretty fast. But I would like to ask you the last two questions that I traditionally ask of all my guests on the show. Okay. And the first one is, for all the people out there who hear or see you for the first time, what's the best place that they could go and look for more information or follow you in any way digitally? Or connect to you via technology?
Yeah. My website, www.kk.org, has everything about me. And my email has been public for 25 years. It's kk@kk.org. And people can write to me.
Excellent. So if there's one message that you would like to give to all of our viewers and listeners today, what would you like it to be?
That's a good one. Okay, so here's what it is. We collectively are involved in making more stuff, more technology, more artifacts. We're trying to make more stuff to sell. We're involved in buying stuff. So we're somehow or other, most of us are engaged in some ways of adding to the technium in some ways. And I think at times that can be very dispiriting because it might resemble consumerism. Some of the stuff doesn't last very long if it ever even gets made or sold. Even when it does, it's obsolete very fast. And there is a sense of really not being connected to something that seems very important. Or else it's distracting, and we have these issues about the rate of change and the ways maybe affecting our minds, and we also feel a little disjointed from this acceleration. And so I think while we're very technologically oriented, we're at unease often with this. And I'm saying that if we step back and look at the long-term trends in technology and show how actually its roots, the technium's roots, are in life, and the life's roots are actually all the way back to the Big Bang and any kind of exotropic systems, that we can step back and see that actually, no, this is, there's a large story happening. There's an arc from the beginning of time through now that will work through our lives now and go beyond us, and that we can actually we're actually part of something bigger than just what's happening right now, selling stuff. And that bigger thing that we're part of, that we can align ourselves with, this sort of cosmic evolution story, is actually a story where we're bringing more choices and opportunities and options to people. And I think that's really, really good because all of us have a mix of different talents and abilities, but often it requires us to make something to allow those to express. And so maybe we are a musician, we need an instrument to be made to really fully express our genius, or maybe we need a certain camera or holodeck interface or some other gizmo. And there have been, I mean, we like to imagine the world in which Beethoven was born before the piano or the symphony, and what a loss that would be, or Jimi Hendrix before the amplifier was built. And today, somewhere in the world, there's a young boy or girl who's a genius, and maybe we haven't made their guitar yet for them, or the equivalent of the camera or the holodeck thing. And so I think we have an obligation to increase those possibilities so that everybody in the world would have some chance to express their unique genius to the world. And by participating in this long story, this long arc of increasing complexity and specialization, by aligning ourselves with that thing moving through history and beyond us, I think it gives us just some reason to keep making this stuff, and imbues our lives with more meaning, understanding that we're doing good when we embrace technology.
So technology does not want a singularity, but wants increased opportunities, freedom, and diversification and ability to express and find out who we are.
Yes, I think it wants all those things. It wouldn't surprise me if a singularity-like thing was part of the mix, but I just have to emphasize that it's only one scenario or one option. And so I think the idea that we would move through something, a phase change, let's call it, where we move through something that whose origins or outlines or even behaviors we cannot see right now, that seems very reasonable to expect. We did that with language already once. We moved through language, and before language, we could not imagine the world of after language. And it's very possible that we could move into other states that we can't imagine right now because we're at the wrong scale. That seems inevitable. And in that sense, I think that is part of the inevitable future. But I don't think it's necessarily that it's going to be a super AI that makes a super AI in the next 30 years.
But in that case, do you think that, or I mean, how would you judge our chances of surviving and going through all those, unparalleled changes that we would have to go through in the next several decades or centuries as a species?
I think if we imagine ourselves as exactly as we are right now, there's zero chance that we would survive. I think the only way we get through these things is that we are continually reinventing ourselves and changing our own nature. And so we're not the same people who came out of Africa. So basically they have not survived. Okay, early pre-humans have not survived. They have changed. We have changed ourselves into who we are right now. We will change ourselves again in the future, and we will be different than we are right now.
Thank you, Kevin. I have to say that I did read your book with a great deal of interest, and for me, from my point of view, it was both fascinating and beautiful, and a very sort of one of the most poetic defenses of technology, and optimistic one too. So it was just a pleasure to read, and I think I'll be rereading it, so I would recommend it to everyone.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your interest and kind words, and let me know if I can help again.